We'd like to welcome you again to another presentation. Here is our 116th broadcast. Tonight is Tuesday, December 27th, 2022. We have a few more days to go. We have one more production, which will be on Friday, the 30th of December. But in the meantime, we'd like to say thank you for being with us through the year. And as we wind down 2022, I just say thank you. Thank you for being loyal to the Issues Room. We'd like to welcome you wherever you are, whether in Africa, Liberia in particular, out there in Australia, out there in Asia, Europe, the Americas, just about anywhere picking up signal. We say thank you for joining us and being committed to our broadcast. This evening, the conversation is going to be a good one, and we'd like to encourage you to join us because it's going to be uh, very important that we hold this discussion. I believe you've seen the flyer and you know exactly what we're about to talk about tonight. But just in case, I'd like to just quickly reiterate that we'll be looking at the recent rampage and attacks from at risk youth in the country termed as Zogos on peaceful citizens, including marketers around Monrovia, as a result of them not receiving some promised money, as alleged, from the chief of protocol of the Liberian government, Finda Bondo. Accordingly, from the sources and news outlets that covered the incident, Finda had promised to give each of the youth, I believe, 5,000 Liberian dollars, uh, probably in the tune of $20 or a little over $20 if you do the conversion. And so the promises were not fulfilled, and as a result, they took to the streets. Accordingly, three persons died. Again, accordingly from what we saw trending on social media. We'll be talking about that, and we'll also be talking about the Ministry of Information, Cultural Affairs, and Tourism. Recently, is minister who is the spokesman for the Liberian government, Lejahud Rennie, had granted an interview on a radio station in Monrovia, I believe OKFM, where he said that the government was not forthcoming with its support to MICAT. And there are a lot of people who are thinking that the Ministry of Information is no longer viable in terms of being a ministry, particularly the arm of information. Considering where we are in social media age, everyone has, some kind of radio station, some kind of podcast, some kind of television, and so all of these outlets probably can take the space of the Ministry of Information. So we'll be talking about that. In the meantime, I'll be joining Moses Sandy shortly. He's trying to get some things straightened up. I'm Volcano Shelton. We'd like to welcome you to this broadcast. It's our 116th production. I also like to welcome Raymond Clark. Thank you, my brother, for joining us in Texas. Hope the weather is good out there this evening. We're still here in the cold weather down on the East Coast here. It was a little better today compared to Christmas Day and yesterday. But overall, good to say we're hanging in there, keeping bundled. I'd like to welcome Fergie Monyu. I'll try Moses from my end and see if he's situated. Moses, are you situated now? Unfortunately, we're still not getting audio from you. Um, I believe it has to do with some technical connection. Uh, Probably, let me advise, if probably you just uh, go directly from your gadget instead of trying to in sync the microphone and other things, maybe for this production, because you have tried and it doesn't seem to be going well. So I'll have to put you backstage and come back. This conversation should have started honestly. And the way that we wanted to start this conversation, I will begin until I'm hopeful that Moses will um, get his stuff going. But On Christmas Day, Liberia lost a son. Uh, Dr. Daniel Estrada Cassell. He was, and I use the word was because he's deceased, according to sources close to the family and what has been trending in the news. Uh, and even Wikipedia has already lifted the story of his demise. Dr. Cassell um, was a presidential candidate uh, who had thrown his hat in the race for the 2023 elections in Liberia. And he established a political party named the People's Liberation Party. For a period, Dr. Cassell has gained some traction and momentum in Liberia, doing humanitarian work and carrying on a lot of activities in the country. However, past March, he returned to the U.S. and was charged with uh, a slew of charges, according to the news stories, from money laundering to tax evasion and insurance fraud and all of that. Because Dr. Cassell has clinics, mental health clinics in the tri-state area that was providing service, and it was noted that some of the buildings where service were not provided for some of those buildings, and so he had a legal issue that was ongoing, and irrespective of what was happening with the legal issues, he was also still doing humanitarian work and also keeping the party viable. And until Christmas Day, Dr. Cassell accordingly uh, passed away. Uh, Initial reaction is that it might be heart failure, but there's not an official autopsy yet to determine cause of death. But I'm sure that at some point that will be released for clarity. But it's saddened to say that Dr. Cassell is no more, irrespective of what political adversaries want to say, partisans of other political parties. This is a son of Liberia, and we must regret, irrespective of however people want to think. We must regret for his short term here on earth, 56 years old. Uh, he made a great impact for himself, for his family, but for the people of Liberia, because a lot of people benefited from his foundation, his goodwill gesture, and irrespective of what people are saying and what have said or been said, yet he is a son of the soil, and we must regret his demise. He died at 56 years old. Accordingly, he would have been uh, 57 had he lived to see his 57th birthday on January 8th. So again, the Issues Room want to say on behalf of the Issues Room team, we wish Dr. Cassell's family uh, solace in these hours of bereavement, and we pray and ask God for his grace to grant the wife and kids the strength and the family members, including his mom, who is alive, to endure in these difficult times. Having said that, I'd like to go to our studio discussing here tonight, Dwana, Mr. Moba Dwana,
Yes, sir.
formerly of the Ministry of Information. You will talk about yourself a little bit while we hopefully get Moses to get situated. But I said, listen, welcome to the show. And I was just talking about the saddening, you know, death of Dr. Daniel Cassell. Are you familiar with Dr. Cassell?
Yes, I did. I met him at the AJA convention in New Jersey personally, and I shook his hands. And I just want to join the team of the issue room to express my condolences to him and his entire family. This is fellow Liberian. And then I also want to thank you for welcoming me on your program. and extend my belated Merry Christmas to all your fans, and I wish everybody a prosperous New Year.
Thank you. Let me give Moses another shot and see if he's situated. Moses, are you ready? We can't hear you, Moses. Unfortunately, this might not be your night, my brother. Uh, interestingly, yeah, but okay, we're not getting anything from you. Um, listen, all right, Moses,
Oh,
I guess I'll just put your audio through phone, but that that wouldn't help a lot because if we have to open the lines, I don't know how we're gonna do it.
I don't know. All right, but let me keep trying. I don't know
Uh,
what's going on tonight.
are you good, or you want me to? You,
Yes, we can keep doing that while I'm still navigating. I don't really know what's going on tonight with my system yet. Technology, Donna, technology has done it again, but it's understandable.
and
It's
and
easy to have you
there's a
in
horrible. Oh,
studio.
let me see something. Go ahead, Moses. Say something here.
Yeah, do you hear me?
All right. I think there's a feedback coming from Duana's setting
Yeah,
because
it's
I muted his mic and everything now seemed to be quiet. So there's something
okay.
coming from his end. But never mind, Duana. Don't worry about touching anything. What I'll do is I will mute you when you're not talking, so we don't have that feedback. And then when you're talking, hopefully it fixes itself. So Moses, listen, I know that you're trying to work on this. Let's do the first half of the show until we get to uh opening the lines, okay?
Sure.
I guess
Yeah.
I guess we should go this route. So
Yeah, just bring my video in.
you're the one going in and out. That's not me. How would I bring your video in when you go in and out? Okay,
Okay.
now you're good.
All
All
right.
right, good. All
Yeah,
right,
and you still don't hear me, right? Via my system.
Moses, we're on your cell phone,
Oh, okay, good. Let's just do that.
but you hearing me?
Yes, I do.
Okay, so then we'll do this for the first half of the show until we get
Okay.
to the line. All right, so I'll unmute Duana so we can begin this conversation. Uh,
Yeah. Well, first, let me apologize to our many viewers. Is there any echo in the background?
the echo is coming from Duana, so I'll cut him off. Go ahead, make it.
Yeah. Do you hear the echo right now?
Moses, go ahead. I said I will cut him off. Just go ahead. Keep talking.
Okay. Yeah. So, as I was saying, I apologize. Uh, technology has its own way of doing things. So tonight we have a little bit of a glitch. Now, let me join you and the rest of our colleagues uh, to once again express our profound condolences to the Cassell family. Dr. Cassell was a friend, and when I got the news on Sunday that he had passed, I was shattered. I mean, he and I we exchanged messages on Thursday of last week. He wished me well. I wished him well. Saturday, he also put out a message, season's greeting from his family, and I responded to that. So we're always in touch. We have good relationships. So this is difficult for all of his friends, his family. And so I'd like to join everyone in expressing our deepest condolences to the family for the loss suffered. I did speak to someone who is very close to the family, and let me provide this information. It's my understanding that Dr. Cassell and his family went out on Sunday, as part of the celebration for the Christmas, and later they retired home. When they retired, You know, he's a guy who always exercise. So he had a treadmill in his basement. So he went to exercise. After exercising for like 20 minutes or so, then his wife and other kids went downstairs to also exercise. And then later, he said he was going to use the bathroom to wash his hands and come back. And the wife decided to go upstairs. When she went upstairs, in less than 2 seconds, I am told, after he went to use the bathroom, and the wife heard a sound upstairs, like someone falling. And when he fell, his son, Kerry, was then in the basement along with him. So his son said, Dad! And mom ran downstairs to see what was happening. So, according to the source, when she got there, he had passed out. She tried repeatedly to revive him through CPR. That didn't work. So she immediately called for emergency services, 911. It is my understanding that it took over 20 minutes for emergency service to respond. So when they came, they were in the basement. They asked the wife to go upstairs while they tried to help revive Dr. Cassell. Every effort, according to the source, was exhausted. He didn't come through. And then later he was pronounced dead. The wife just couldn't believe it that her husband was dead.
And
She
the
went,
pronouncement of his death was in his house at the time.
yes,
His body was still there.
he died at home.
Okay, okay.
He died at home. Uh, uh, the emergency team pronounced him dead after all efforts to revive him failed. So then I was told the body was put into a body bag and taken to a hospital. It is also my understanding that the family has asked for autopsy to determine the actual cause of death. What I was initially told is that he died as a result of heart failure. Let's hope that before the close of the week, we'll be able to get an autopsy report to really speak to the actual cause of death. Right now, the assumption is that he died as a result of heart failure. Liberia has indeed lost another, political giant. The PLP was one of the U.S. emerging political parties gaining grounds, and so I'd like to join you, my friend and brother, Luana, and all Liberians in expressing our deepest condolences to the family for the loss suffered. Thank you, Volcano.
Thank you. So
Mm.
it's unfortunate, but we hope that the autopsy will show evidence as to how he died. And anyone who works out will say, oh, wait a minute, the man exercises, and then even when you exercise, you can still overwork the heart. Maybe that could have been something. And for those of us who are workout buffs, even though I haven't gone to the gym in more than a year and a half, so you can imagine if I went back, I would be trying to get my breath. And so it's unfortunate, but may his soul rest in peace. Moses, the other day in Monrovia, it was the eve of Christmas. We saw news trending around social media that had to do with um, a bunch of at-risk youth all over the country, particularly Monrovia, especially in the Monrovia area, had converged at the Barclay Training Center on the premise of receiving 5,000 Liberian dollars each, as promised by the chief of protocol of the Liberian government, Finda Bondo. Um, we are not making this up. That was what trending. That was the
That's the news
interviews. Yeah,
emanating from the
yeah,
country.
and
Yeah.
that was the news uh, that was put forth by even Spoon TV, outside broadcast, and many of the other groups, and particularly in the Ashmore Street area, those guys went there and just attacked innocent people, market women. One old man, in fact, was crying. Somebody even had to request her mobile number because she said she had lost everything. Um, and they didn't stop there. They decided to also take their frustration on some motorcyclists. And the interesting thing is that you have two groups now in Liberia that will be competing. Uh, 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 when you look at the Zogos and you look at the motorcyclists, they are law unto themselves, and those two groups can do whatever they want to do, and it seems like they they're holding the voting cards, so people turn a blind eye. So they went uh to attack the man, the pimping boys. But then, according to the story, the pimping boys uh, reacted, and it led to three of the Zogos passing away. Uh, Probably they were brutalized. However, they were killed. It's just that three Zogos died as a result. And then what happened? The Zogos retreated to the hideouts. And by the time police could settle things, a lot of people had lost their businesses. Um, who's going to be responsible to reciprocate or to restitute? We have no idea. But we thought to hold this conversation, and Duana has just been in Liberia, and I'm sure that he has some first-hand information. But that's why we brought Duana here as a former colleague and journalist who worked for the Ministry of Information, which will be our uh, second discussion. But I thought to give a little overview of the situation. Let's talk about the situation with the Zogos first. You know, how did it get to this point that they can just choose to do whatever they want to do, and the pimping boys, on the other hand, can do same?
Yes. So, for Canon, just for information purpose, let's look at a group, at risk youth, or quote unquote Zogos. In developed worlds, individuals who are referred to as youth are individuals who ages fall between 15 and 24. Anyone in the West, such person will be considered a youth. As per Liberia's definition, and I'm sure my brother Dwana can speak to that. When we talk about youth, we're talking about individuals between the ages 15 and 34. Into this Liberia, when someone is referred to as at-risk youth, Zogo, in Liberian parlance, they are making reference to individuals who are byproducts of the Liberian Civil War as combatants, individuals who are addicted to illicit drugs, individuals who are also addicted to uh, 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 prescribed drugs such as heroin. Oh my God.
Let's just continue. You can do what?
Yeah, we're talking about individuals who struggle with substance use problem in Liberia. You are talking about individuals who engage in um, who are literally wayward. These are individuals whose behavior are uncontrollable. They are spread throughout the country. And a data report says that into this Liberia, you have 250,000 Liberians that are considered Zogos. These are people that are all over the country. And because of the poor intervention by our successive administration, including the we are government, these guys have become lost into themselves. Our current government has no plan in helping these people. Take for example the 2022 budget. The budget is a little over $806 million. In that budget for Ghana, the Liberian government allocated $1 million for attending to the needs of the quote unquote Zogos. That's insanity. You're talking about people whose lives have been ruined by drugs. You're talking about people who know nothing but criminality. How do you allocate $1 million to care for these people? So we have a serious problem, and our government pays little or no attention to that. So having said that, I would like to pause now to go to my friend and brother, Moba Duana, who has just returned from Liberia, to at least give us an insight regarding who the Zogos are and what is happening, in fact, in today's Liberia when it comes to the rule of law.
Go ahead.
Well, thank you again, Brother Sheldon and the Mr. Editor, Cindy. Look, what I observed on the ground in Liberia, what I felt, and what I experienced, what I saw.
And quickly, Duana, someone watching will want to know how recent was your visit to Liberia?
Oh, I was in Liberia November 22nd. I went for my dad's funeral November 22nd, and I left December 2nd.
Okay.
Yeah, and I was there, and what I saw, because I'm a Monrovia boy. I grew up in the streets of Monrovia, literally. But what I observed over there, man, it's a national security problem. You and I both can wrap our hands around it, but it is a national security problem that would need a serious national government solution, because our young people are suffering. And like I said, when I came back, I had a podcast on my on my Facebook page, and it's scary. At my dad's funeral, can you imagine a group of guys, Zogos, came to my dad's funeral with cutlasses and knives to rob people? If you went to the streets of Monrovia today, you park your car, all of a sudden you see somebody coming to wash your car to beg for money. It is the economic stagnation. I mean, we say Zogos. I mean, to be honest with you, I don't appreciate their language or the adjectives, Zogos. These are juvenile delinquency problems we have. And that's the future of our country. And my brother, between me and you, man, if we cannot start to address this issue, we pretty much will not have no country, because the young people are struggling. Education, healthcare, whatever you can think about, man. It's hard. It's depressing. I've been having nightmares since I came back from Liberia.
Well, I think you kind of touched on one important area that it is a national issue, and I wouldn't put it all on government. I will start from the smaller part of this of the country or the nation, which is the family. The smallest part of the society it starts with the family, and a lot of the families rather across the country are themselves in peril ships that they cannot sustain for the family, needless to say, you know, the extended family, the immediate family. I'm hoping that you're ready again, Moses. Okay, so you're still not ready. We got to go back to
Yeah,
the phone.
I was told speak to
Kind of.
you through
Okay,
a
no,
phone.
yeah, it's okay. Just stay
Yeah.
put. So as I was saying, and so this is the issue. So the family has a part to play. The community has a part to play. The institutions of learning, the churches, civil society, the media, all sectors of the country. And then the government comes in with its three branches.
If I may comment, please, Volcano,
Yeah,
we have a problem here. The family is the single unit of the community. I got a friend I was speaking to in Monrovia. He went to the university. He graduated. He worked for national government. This dude make like $225 a month. And he better get paid. The man was literally sobbing, crying to me that he doesn't even believe his kid's going to graduate from high school. This is a brother that I knew very well, hardworking, very intelligent, but he could not even assure me. He said he has his 13 years old daughter that he cannot even give an account for where she goes, where she comes. Look, the problem is so universal in the country that sometimes to get around it, you have a country. The agriculture minister got an agriculture fund. So all the agriculture policy is based around her bottom line. The healthcare minister have a clinic. Everything that has to do with healthcare is based around her bottom line. The education minister has his own private school. So everything that based around that. A friend of mine, good friend, senior brother, he's the superintendent for MCSS as a Zawo. He has his own private school as well. So where in this world, in education, where in this world in the 21st century do we pay for information? Information. You go to schools in Monrovia, you pay $10, $15 for information sheet. If you have 3 children in that school, you have to pay $30 or $45 for information sheet.
and
So
this is US dollars.
yes,
Okay, this is US dollars.
then
Whereas, where,
triangulate
whereas the man take home pay $60 a month or $100 a month. So just to pay for the information where it's supposed to be put on the bulletin board and available to everybody, you got to pay for it. And you're not telling a stranger because I know it. I help people with school fees in Monrovia. When I say let me know what the information is, then they text me everything. They say, "But Chief, I know you want help me, but I even can afford to get an information sheet to send to you. So you gotta send the first small thing, let me get the information." But man, what type of country is this? Go ahead. I just
information.
want yeah.
So we look. I'm not kidding you. I have not been in Liberia for over 22 years. This was my first visit because of my father's funeral, and I communicate with Monrovia on a daily basis. Okay, a lot of brothers and sisters and nieces and nephews. But when I went on the ground, what I saw, since I've been back for about 3 weeks now, I always have the nightmare. Okay, it's like a nightmare because I know I have a lot of nieces and nephews. And now you see people walking in the street. Like, what happened there on Christmas time? It's going to be worse. It's just going to get worse. It's just going to get. That's why I say it's a national security situation. But man, you get out from the car to the supermarket, they put things to who you responsible for their problems.
Oh, and thanks for bringing that up, Moses. When you get to Monrovia from the airport, you're swarmed. You gotta literally fight for yourself because whether you like it or not, the man gotta hold your suitcase for you. He dragging your suitcase. He ain't even know which car you going to, but he holding your suitcase for you. So you gotta literally say, "My man, leave my suitcase." But then he will say, "But Chief, how you think I will eat now?" Or just find something for your picking. Okay. So when I'm arriving in Monrovia, I make sure I get about $50 in $1 note because whether you like it or not, that man when I move from behind you until you put something in your hand. So that's the first test from the airport to town. Like Dwana said, any supermarket you go to, they're all over the place. Gee, I'll wash the car. Why the man washing your car? He already gone bring water to wash your car on top of you. You ask the man to wash your car, but the man start washing your car. When you come back now, then your car clean. What you do? he had dollar for him. You got to make it 5 now because he already went ahead and did extra. But that's the kind of situation. You go on Broad Street, the little and oh, the other speed, the outlet they know you. The outlet they know you. Then they start giving you area where you were not born. They start telling you, hey, you from this place, hey, you from that place. But that's the situation. It's funny, but it's serious.
It's
And
sad.
we'll come back to it. But let's continue to discuss the negatives of this and then come back to discuss where government continue to play the deaf, ear or the blind to these guys' situation. And the branch of government that's supposed to be very serious about this are those people that sit in the legislature who only looking up for themselves, but they can sign a budget and give it a pass for only $1 million for more than 250,000 abandoned young people who are supposed to be the inheritance of the country, who are supposed to be the leaders of tomorrow, ill prepared. And what make you think that? And I say this to myself and I think about it. Why Akaras Gray, Thomas Fala, Prince Johnson, and all these people think that when these young people go on the rampage, they will not be impacted? Why do they think that? So if you don't do what is right, I'm coming, you're coming most. If you don't do what is right now to address the situation through the budget, through reform policies, bringing the Ministry of Health, bringing the Ministry of Youth and Sport, strategize and put monies in the budget, you got to take the initiative as government first, right? Before you can go to foreign supporters. They want to see what initiative you've taken as a government. So when you go to them with $1 million and they're asking you what would this, I think that just treatment for 10 people, you know, come to think about, especially the depth of where they're going. But I wanted us to just continue to look at it from that perspective. Moses.
But look, you guys have said everything. And as I listen to the both of you, what is obtaining in Liberia today? The plight of our people, especially our young people. The people are in what we call survival mode. The desperation, the destitution is so high. It is so uncontrollable, Volcano, that these people will do anything just to find something to eat. Like Dwana said, you park your vehicle. You don't even know where these people are coming from. Chief, I will wash your car. You said you get to the airport, you are swarmed by individuals who say, I will take your suitcase. Our young women are exploited sexually by insiders of the government and those who have. Because why? They do not have anything. And that is why people continuously say that Liberia today is faced with a leadership deficit headed by George Weah. Isn't it insane that you have a population considered wayward, the underprivileged, the challenged? You allocate $1 million for a year to run a program for these people, but you gave a president more than $2 million to go gallivanting. Donna, does that not equate to insanity? Tell me,
Mr.
Donna.
Editor, Mr. Editor, sometimes when we speak our mind, because like you know me very well, I like to speak my mind. Like I said, we cannot sustain this thing for the next 6 years if President Weah is re-elected. I've already said that. But the sad thing about it, Volcano, Cindy, those are the have families who have kids. It is always our biggest goal that our children should live a better life than we do. And a generation in the country, our nieces and our nephews, should do better than we do. But when you see it going into the abyss, like what the country is going into today, it's serious. And I was telling a friend of mine in the government, I said, bro, you guys are sitting here on the town bomb. Sometimes we forget how these things are connected. If you remember what we call the Arab Spring today, what happened in in Tunisia? A man selling his vegetables in the wheelbarrow set himself on fire because of police harassment, because of economic stagnation. That led to what we call the Arab Spring. That's just a lesson. And like what happened in Christmas, it's just the sample. Volcano, you know what they call the combustible triangle. Okay, the combustible triangle, when there's going to be fire, you need heat, you need oxygen, and you need fuel. And when you go to Moravia today, if you see the people, you know it just, you don't have traffic, you have chaos. The people go in both directions. One day somebody will run over somebody's child, and that's my fear. That's my fear. You know.
Liberia is in a vortex of crisis, a vortex of chaos, and it's scary when these people don't see it. And the unfortunate thing is that when you're inside the box, you can't see. I think they've gotten so used to it, and the thing is cultural and it's second nature that this is normal. The way they drive, the way they talk, the way they act. When you go to Liberia, your adjustability is a key factor. You gotta tell you don't bring that American thing here. Official government telling you don't bring American thing here. But I see official government who was here the other day following and living by the American standard and the American thing.
Mhm.
But he's gone there now. And instead of helping to create transformation and change, they go and get absorbed by the corrupt system, the rotten system, and they think that it's normal. And so, yes, Liberia is creeping toward something very serious. And
Dangerous, man.
and is going to come from the young people. And I continue to say that these people who are in government, who think that they have generator and high fence with barbed wire, when a man is desperate, he will jump that fence and he will come. Those people need to begin to think. George Weah needs to begin to think. He was a young man before. He know the trials and tribulations he went through to be what he is. He can't just take everything for granted. Somebody just wrote here, the first lady has more in her budget than the youth
The
of the country.
doctors,
I'm afraid.
yeah. Mhm.
So why are we missing the priorities? Why? Because no check and balance, because corruption is palpable, because everybody does what he or she wants to do. That is why we're missing the mark. And until we really put our priorities in place, the situation with our young people is a dire situation. And if it's not addressed, like every one of us saying here, I don't know where Liberia will go after 2023. Because if we thinks he becomes president and he continues in the borders up around our business as usual, it would be unfortunate.
But look,
I mean,
Mr. Weir has demonstrated not only to Liberians, to the world, that he has no interest in the presidency of Liberia. He's not engaged. He's completely aloof. He has no clue what is happening around him. He doesn't pay attention to the details of things obtaining in the country. He doesn't speak to the issues. He doesn't intervene. So I don't know. Liberia is stuck. The country is stuck. Come 2023, and you gave Liberia back to this man. I mean, there is not a campaign for any political party. We just speaking our mind. And Duana, you just came from Liberia. You saw you live what we're talking about. I'm sure you can speak to this better than any of us here. So let me give it back to you.
Thank you so much. Look, the thing about the presidency of the Republic of Liberia, in my humble opinion, we all have our faults. We all have our weaknesses. But Sandy, like you know, and Volcano, they say when you feel you're the smartest man in the room, then you're in the wrong room because you want to put yourself around people that can help you to develop as an individual, improve your vocabulary, improve your analysis, and whatever. That's why some all have men like you to be our friend. Okay, that's how to have people like you to be our friends because we don't want to be the smartest man in the room. The sad thing about our president is, if you look at the team he has surrounding him, the brother does not only is not only I mean he has his own weaknesses, but the people around him are more or less worse than he does. So every decision they make, they have what you call there's something in the sophisticated community what you call decision making fatigue. The more decision they make, the worse things gets, and you can see it on a daily basis. If you got to the RIA today and you going on the road, you think say you're going to a village, the road to the airport is horrible, and that's the gateway to the country. They decided to build a road, but the dock hole on both sides, and you and I been traveling around. The way people build road, they build one side, then they develop the next side, and all those things you can tell.
But first of all, the company the people get a role work to. There's no track record. Accordingly, that Nathaniel McGill put a hand inside and they all mango. This company called East Something has never built even septic tank before I say roll. So you tell me now, what
decision
they
making
already
fatigue.
finished pocketing the money. So
Decision making fatigue.
they just dog pits on both sides of the place and acting that a rainy season causing a delay. But not really in America, the people build snow, winter, summer, whatever, right? All the,
We
every
your president has two major paralysis, from what I can tell from my side. Well, I mean, look, man, I'm a college dropout, but what I can tell, I read a lot, or I read a lot all the time. There's something what they call uh, uh, status quo bias. The man is biased with the people around him. He feels that those are the best people that he can work with. So he doesn't want anybody intelligent like Moses Sandy or Volcano Shadow who can tell him, Mr. President, this is not going to work. Or this is not going to do this thing. Let's do this in this way. What if and what if and what if? So they find themselves in a situation where they do not anticipate problems. So they just have cut and paste measures. When things happen, they cut here, they paste here, they cut here, they paste here, they cut here. And that's not leadership. Okay? Sometimes you have to live with people that you don't like or you don't want, but you respect them. Educate the people. Look at the man appointed to be the RIA managing director from Philadelphia. You and I both know the brother was not qualified, but the president insisted that he should be there. The man rejected his own resume that the executive management presented to the Senate committee.
and so the man is currently acting managing director only because he won't pass
So,
confirmation hearing, from what I heard.
so
So
what
the
do we
man
do?
already
What do we
collecting pay.
do? That's just what we have.
But
Back in the days,
let me
who
throw
had
this
a
out
Senate
here
mayor?
quick.
Yeah.
Let me throw this out here, Moses. So there's a lady here by the name of Dorothy Desayu. She says no more war is going to Liberia again. We can promise you guys that our people are not stupid again. Now, Dorothy, if you're following this conversation, no one is calling for war. What we're saying here is that do you think that war means the presence of bazookas and war tank, or someone coming from the bush to fight war? Rampage, when young men take cutlasses and go around the capital city the other day on Saturday, poor market women then sitting down minding their little businesses, doing their little frying, their little color, everything. And these guys just ransack everywhere. So the people who they went and destroyed the livelihood, even to the point some people got hurt. Isn't that outside of peace? So war will come to Liberia if the government doesn't do what it's supposed to do to protect the people. And we're not talking about somebody coming with guns and stuff. You know, So if you're not understanding the conversation, we're telling you here that what is happening in the country, the lack of attention to address the current crisis of our young people who every day are left to ruin, it will have a ripple effect. And that ripple effect will be detrimental to the entire country, including the very president and all of his associates. Because when it gets on a grandeur scale, then it will require the international community to have a part to play. And that will now become a crisis. So we're trying to enlighten ourselves, all of us, you and everybody here tonight, including the government, to begin to see this as a work in progress that needs to be addressed. And if not, the potential will be dire. That's what we're trying to make. And I just wanted to clear that because sometimes people don't understand when we're talking, the thing we're inciting. We're not inciting, we're not asking for war. Nobody wants war. But
Could I just say something
you
to
know,
Sis Dorothy?
you can have people doing what they want to do, like outside of the rule of law. That in itself is even worse than war.
Brother Sheldon, I would say to Sis Dorothy, I want to thank you for joining the conversation. Okay. Thank you so much for participating in the process. But one thing you need to understand, the silence of the weapon does not mean peace. Okay. Not because there's no gun shooting in the streets, then we have peace. That's not what it means. The only way you can have peace in the country, you need to have social and economic development in the country. Other than that, you just be putting lipstick on a pig. You're not going to be doing anything for yourself. You're not even liking George Weah himself. If you see the road going to George Weah's house or going to Jamaica Resort, do you see the number of people that gather there on a daily basis? Do you see the number of people that gather there? Literally, his driveway to his house is clustered with a lot of young people selling gum. Can you imagine somebody selling gum? I mean, they're loosening it, loose gum. There's a five gum in a packet, and they're selling it piece by piece. And you see a
Yeah,
grown man.
you mean call it
Yeah, and you see that.
suddenly
Then you
have
think,
my man must say hell the piece. My man, my man,
then you think a peace. Shut up. That's not peace.
it's not
Okay.
even hygienic.
Yeah.
So, so we just want to tell thank you for participating in the process. Be a
Yeah,
welcome
the
guest.
woman. Yeah, and I understand your diehardness, but sometimes let's call a spade a spade. We're not telling you that we're looking for war. We're just bringing up the issues that must be addressed. And honestly, those are human beings. They're not static. They're not statues. They have feelings. They have senses. They can taste. They can smell. They can see, and they have needs. And if those needs are not met, and they see everybody else enjoying, they will create chaos.
Of course.
They would definitely, and they started on Christmas Eve. So that's
But
that's
no,
just a tip of the iceberg. Go ahead.
Volcano,
Yeah.
let Dwana just share with us his personal experience. What happened on the night of his final, I mean, of his father's wakekeeping
Go
when the
ahead.
Zogos show up. Donna, you want to share that with us?
Yeah, one of my youngest brother brought in some of his friends, military guys, right to Bannersley. He said, "Stop and turn." My dad used to live over there, so we went there at the wake. And then I saw a group of military guys came in with my brother, one of my youngest brother. But I mean, I just thought it was his friends. But then later on, when he came to me, he said he wants something to drink or whatever it was. I was like, I mean, who are they? Then he was like, oh, these are guys that putting on security. I said, do we need that? Because back in the days when I was in Morovia, we didn't need security for a week. But he said, oh, yeah, we'll do. But man, when I realized group of young men with cutlasses and knives, people were standing on the road. Somebody put out coming to the wake and leaving the wake came running back and saying, oh, we got people over there with cutlasses, Zogos over there with cutlasses. At a wake.
Keeping. Yeah.
Look, I can tell since Dorothy, you know, no matter how well you like George Weah or whatever it is, the situation in the country is not going to get worse. It's not. I mean, I'm driving the car and put driving opposite lane. The guy that was driving me, I told him, I said, look, man, where I come from, we don't drive in the opposite lane of the street. So there's no way we can drive. He said, but we're not going to bust me. I said, then we're not going to go. Okay, you drive on your lane until you take me to where I'm going. Volcano, by 2 o'clock, I want to leave the street. Then somebody said, oh, you can get used to it the more you keep coming here. I said, there's no way in hell that I'm going to get used to this. You see the disenchantment in the people's faces. It's like zombies walking down the street. Okay? You go to an old lady. I spoke to an old lady. Mom, how you doing today? She said, oh, no, my son. I said, what do you mean? She said, in my business, 4 o'clock in the evening. She have had only 2 customers all day. And my children is gallivanting. The children, you see my children, only 2 customers I got all day. So what do you expect? Not exaggeration. If you went around the country and you went around in Morovia, which is like, first of all, the place is so crowded that you're gonna be like, oh my goodness, this is not the Morovia that I was in many years ago. But everybody has gathered into the country, into the Morovia, because that's the only way the activities are going on there. So it's pathetic, man. I mean, it's one of those things. I'm sorry.
Let me make this point quick. Moses, when we joined, and it's an analogy. When we joined LBS, at a time when we still had some of the real good names. And so during our time, we were able to learn from those people to make us who we are today. Had we went to LBS under this arrangement, how much better were we going to be?
It would have been extremely bad.
So here's the point I want to make. We had a civil war. You and I, we were done with high school before 1990. We never took to the streets to zigwe and run behind politicians. I don't remember me ever doing that. The only one major riot we had in Liberia was our student riot of 1985-86, I believe. And that was because we wanted the government to pay attention to education. And of course, we got some attention. When the war came, there was a crossover of some of us who were now turning into youth. And unfortunately, we were blessed to be trained, groomed, and responsible young people who were focused on education, wanted to be the next leaders in society. Then you have the generation that was from 85 to 90 who were 5 years old, didn't understand, and then it became chaos and the hustle, and then they started growing up under all of the bad arrangements, right? So that generation, some of them got conscripted into being child soldiers and all of that. But then you and myself were trying to find a way out for survival, for better pasture. So the point I'm making here, thousands and thousands and thousands of us left Liberia, leaving that vacuum, that gap, where all of the things that we were developed under the normal times, we brought those characters, we brought those attributes, and we couldn't give back to those children who were coming out now today. Some of them are 30 years old since 1990. But then you had a government that came to power after the leadership of Taylor. They didn't infuse some of those good upbringing back into society by creating programs that would draw those people back to the mainstream of the kinds of culture and upbringing that they needed. 12 years, they were languaging here and there, and all we could hear, your lead the children. And today now, you have another 6 years of your leave the children, and this is what we have. So that gap of our generation, we have also contributed to the situation in Liberia because we're not around to really give back to these children. And not only that, we left, but the governments in succession have not put programs in place that will bring back, you know, those good upbringings and holding our youth accountable. So everybody now is an adult, irrespective of their ages. And I thought to put that out there because your home, Duana, if you walk out of your home and you don't come back, your children will go lose because that structure of the father and the upbringing that you had tailored for them. That's why when you hear the man walk away from the mother and leave the children and he doesn't return, the children ends up becoming something else compared to when the father was present.
Yeah, you are absolutely right. And so, in the issues run tonight, what we would like to do from our end, I would like to propose this. For everything we do in Africa, we say the German government will contribute this. The United Nations will contribute that. What I'm talking about, it is an African problem. It's not unique to Liberia. When you listen to our public official, when Mr. Weah returned to Liberia, everything he said, this country will give us this, the other country will give us that. They don't tell you when they raise taxes, what they do with the money generated. So my appeal to Mr. Weah and his people is that they should get back to the drawing table. Look at the national budget. Allocate a significant portion of the money in the budget to education, creating programs for the quote unquote Zogos. You allocate $1 million, it implies that the government is insensitive to this problem. Because what we're talking about here is not restricted to Monrovia. You go to Zouadrille, there are Zogos. You go to Lofa, Vonjama, there are Zogos. This is a nationwide problem. I don't know where the $1 million calculation came from. I don't know whether Mr. Weah just woke up one morning like he does and impulsively told the people, oh, well, just put $1 million aside. Mr. President, it doesn't work like that. You look at your problem. You look at your problem, you do a critical review of your problem, and then you make the budgetary allocation to address the problem. Do not say the United Nations is going to give you $500,000. Let's take this at the family level. If you work your $18 monthly, don't expect your friends to give you $5 to run your home. You use that $10 to run your home. So as a responsible government, look at your income and allocate to areas, to the sector of the society that needs help. These people need to be rehabilitated. We need mental health services. I am told the country national budget allocated what? $30,000 for mental health. Volcano, Duana, isn't that insane? $30,000 for mental health? You're talking about individuals who have serious psychological problems to attend to their needs. You allocate 30,000 US dollars. You must be out of your mind. So you need to prioritize. Look at the key areas. The government has to what? Reduce the salary of our lawmakers who are earning $15,000, $12,000, and basically doing nothing. The guys go to the legislature, some of them they don't even know the issues. And you pay these people thousands of dollars. Professors at the University of Liberia, you pay them $1,000 as a professor. Any $1,000? How many qualified people will want to leave their jobs in developed countries and go back to the University of Liberia to go teach. How many qualified people will want to leave their jobs and go to the Monrovia Consolidated School System to teach, where the teachers are making $200-300 a month? We need to invest into education.
And you know the
We
interesting
invest
thing,
into
Moses?
our young people. When you do that, the future of the country, because unless we do that, the future of our young people remains bleak.
You
And
know,
let me give it to you,
yeah,
Tuana.
I just want to say
I
this
will
quick.
always refer to you because you're just from there.
I just want to say this quick. The point you made
Yes.
here, they want you to leave here and make the sacrifice. Oh, y'all come home and made a sacrifice to face our country. But you're already on the ground, all of your millionaires. Who told you I want to be millionaire too? Who told you that? Who told you I went to school to be peasant? All of those men up there are millionaires. And let somebody challenge me tonight. Are you telling me that Prince Johnson is not a millionaire now? Are you telling me that Thomas Fowler is not a millionaire? Are you telling me that Eugene Nangbe is not a millionaire? Are you telling me that Samuel Tua is not a millionaire? Are you telling me that Jefferson Koji the other day is not a millionaire? Let somebody tell me say that lie. Oh, but I should leave from here and go make sacrifice to make $300. Right? That love for country. That love for country, right? So I just thought to throw this out here. It's not good for them. Go ahead, Dwana.
No, I ain't doing that, bro. Between me and you, man, I love my country. There's nobody in Liberia, in Liberia that love Liberia more than I am. I do. I really love the country. But one thing, Volcano, that I have learned the hard way in my own personal life, they said if you don't take care of the little things, it's very difficult, if not impossible, to accomplish the big ones. The
But
only
even
way
the
we can.
little things, if you don't take care, can fester into big ones. I want you to
Oh,
make that
that's
clear.
it.
Yeah, yeah.
If as simple, Volcano, you and I both know. If you wake up in the morning, the first thing we learn, if you don't make up your bed, and I'm guilty. I don't never like to make up my bed until during the COVID time, because my wife and I, it was the always arranged. I'll get up bed before she does. But now during the COVID time, I didn't have to leave work. I didn't have to go to work early, so she left me in the bed, and then she whined and whined because I didn't make up the bed. So it is if you wake up, make up the bed, brush your teeth, take a shower. It's how you're going to accomplish big things. And that's the problem with our current regime we have in the country or the current administration. They do not pay attention to the little things. And they think they're going to accomplish the big ones. It's not going to happen. For instance, I'll give you a classic example. Me and you here live in America. For kind of, if your car note is more than your apartment, it's more than your rent,
They
or
just
your
sleep in
car
the
note is
car.
more
They just sleep in.
than,
They made a car at home.
if your car note is
But
more than your mortgage,
that means it is not affordable. It's
they
not
call it they call
affordable.
it
I
every
want to say
problem.
you gotta let go one. I would prefer
If
to
the
let
president,
go
if
of the car.
the president is flying around on a private jet and you show up to these capitals, I mean, what are you going to say to the people? The man is wearing almost $2,000 shoes. He's from one of the poorest country in the world. Okay, look, let's cut the things to the chase. Liberia does not need a part-time president. We need a full-time president, somebody who will go to bed every morning and wake up with one goal and objective. How can he improve the social economic welfare of the people in the country? But now how you're going to dress, or where you're going to go to Dan Buka, or you're going to go sing music, or you're going to go on a pulpit and talk. I mean, it's just not going to happen. Okay. Like I said, man, I want to thank you guys so much for bringing me on your major platform. This is my first time now on this kind of major platform. But I'll leave you with this one, man. If Liberians turn crazy and you let this man as president, in my humble opinion, they would have successfully baked themselves a cake made with cement. I'm not sure how it's going to taste, but one thing I know for sure, they're going to get choked on the dust of their own regrets. Ain't no way this thing can continue in 6 months. I mean, 6 more years. It's not. From what I saw on the ground, I mean, what happened on Christmas Day, you're just going to be repeating yourself over and over and over. Because those kids going to keep holding the hostage. They will. All the people in government are going to keep holding the hostage. They want money, they're going to gang around their cars, and they're holding hostage.
Let me say this. I know it's not going to come favorable. I was in a conversation the other day, and we're talking about who could really change Liberia where it's at now. And gentlemen, you know the name that came? Charles Gange Taylor. Charles Gange Taylor was the name that came up. So if Taylor was freed today and he came out there to contest the 2023 election, Prince Johnson would pack his bag, he would be running away. Every one of them would be running away.
That's interesting.
But the fact was, Taylor understands the Liberian people. He knew how to put them in check. The other presidents here that we had in the last 12 to now 16 years, they have allowed the people to do whatever they want to do. And no country, no society can run in peace, in civility, in harmony, in reconciliation outside of the rule of law. The rule of law is the reason why America is still sustaining. There have been attempts to tamper with the rule of law. You have seen it. The situation on the Capitol. But we're quick to address those negatives and put things back in check. Just the other day, the George Floyd issue, you saw the rampage of African Americans and even Caucasians who went amok. Right here around my neighborhood, they looted, they broke down store doors and went in there and massively looted. But by the time they brought the National Guard, things were restored. That's what we're talking about. And Liberia has the capability of doing that. So here what it is. People decided to protest the other day. The chief of staff came up with a statement. But Zogos came out on Saturday and carried on, but we didn't hear anything from the chief of staff. So it tells you that these guys are only bowing to the executive. They're not being honest across all sectors of leadership to hold each area, accountable. And so I just thought to think about it from that perspective. Who is the leader come 2023 that can restore the rule of law in our country? You talk about people driving in the opposite lane. This is everyday thing. Do you know how many people die from fatal accident in Liberia on a daily basis? This is new to you. I've been going to Liberia since 2009. 2009, every year, not 1 year I skipped. I was just there this year, from March to May. And I'm telling you, the problem of Liberia is the lack of rule of law, which is ingrained in corruption. That's our big problems. So when everyone wants to do whatever they want to do, nobody holding them accountable, and then you say that we want to go back to war, can you imagine? You will go back to war. And that war don't have to be external. That war will be very internal when people go amok and ransacking and looting and breaking people houses, busting their businesses. What do you call that? Is that peace? Moses?
Yeah, that's not
Okay.
peace. The situation in the country is completely ungovernable. Like I said earlier, we have political leaders.
Yeah, Doris didn't know what she's talking. Doris did say when I happy Taylor will not get free. She wanted to say rat in jail. She said you were rat in jail. Any more in jail before he got free? He might play. He might play with that corner.
But look, let me tell
Doris
Dorothy,
Doris
this is
had
not a
beating the neck.
campaign.
Doris
I
had
want,
beating.
Volcano, I just want to tell Dorothy
Oh,
and the
no.
others, this is not a campaign for Mr. Taylor. All we are saying is that we want national leaders that will put the interest of the country first. Liberia does not need a president that came to the presidency In less than 6 months, he built for himself 47 condominiums under shady conditions. And his supporters running all over the place. Oh, the man is a millionaire. The man is a millionaire. He had $88 million before he became president. Where was this $88 million when people had to literally foot the cost for your transportation? Where was the 88 million? Why didn't he declare that? And even in the wake of that, he's still spending the country's money loosely. He throws monies all over the place. He's not in charge of anything. He doesn't pay attention to detail. That's the message we're conveying here tonight.
All
If
right, Moses.
Liberia is to make a comeback, like Duana said, the way forward is a change in government politically. We're not saying people should get in the street to overthrow a government. That is not what we are saying. What we are saying, Liberians should take advantage of 2023 and correct the error that was made in 2017. We don't
Moses.
hate Mr. Weir, but he's just not up to the task.
Moses.
Yes.
We have a crisis. The crisis is that we can't open the line because you have usurped the line.
Okay.
So hold
You
on,
can.
hold on, hold on. We have to go to the next topic because
Yes.
we're running out of time. We probably might not be able to open the line
No,
because
you can open the line and mute me.
how would I mute you when the line
No,
is the line?
when you open the line, when someone
Uh,
calls, I will mute myself and the
okay,
person will go ahead.
all
You
right.
can open the line.
Start a conversation around the MiCat issue. I
Yeah.
know you did a piece. Start that
Okay.
conversation.
Yeah.
All right,
Okay.
quickly,
So
the number to call 404-272-2808. Dorothy, call and make your case. Call 404-272-2808. The number is posted right now. So call and make your case. Go ahead,
okay.
Moses.
Yeah. So let's talk about the Ministry of Information, Cultural Affairs, and Tourism. The three of us here are career journalists. Mr. Tuana and I had the opportunity of working at the Ministry of Information. The Ministry of Information, simply referred to as MICAT, was created by legislative enactment in 1965. The role of the Ministry of Information is to develop and disseminate factual information about the government of Liberia at home and abroad. The ministry also has a responsibility, and that responsibility falls under the tourism department. That is, provide information and promote Liberia's tourism sector. These are the key responsibilities of the Ministry of Information. Develop and disseminate information about the government, promote the tourism sector of Liberia. But in today's Liberia, when I work at the Ministry of Information, the ministry, Duana can speak to that. The Ministry of Information step up to that responsibility. The new Liberian newspaper was on the market. The broadcasting division was functional. The Liberian News Agency was very effective. It was nationwide. The Ministry, Culture and Tourism Department, Kinaja, and the others were all functional. But in we as Liberia, all of these sectors of the Information Ministry have ceased to exist. I had the opportunity of listening to the current Minister of Information, Legiwu Reni, last week on OKFM. I was disappointed when I heard him pronounce that a government that has a national budget of over $806 million for operational expenses. 2022, the government allocated $17,500 to the Ministry of Information. That is keeping the lights running, the vehicles running, running the New Liberian newspaper, anything that has to do with operation, $17,500 for the year 2022. For the projected 2023 national budget, you know how much the government allocated? $8,000. $8,000 for operational expenses. Ministry of Information. According to Minister Rennie, since July of this year, the Ministry of Finance has not disbursed a dime to the Ministry of Information. To exacerbate the situation, the Minister of Information is the official spokesman of the government of Liberia, and he has no access to the president. He can barely see the president. How do you speak for Mr. Weir? How do you speak for the government when you have no access? Emmanuel Buyo, Lamini Warity, Joe Moba, and others who had the opportunity of serving Liberia as information ministers, they had uncontrollable access to the president. Duana,
Hold on.
you work at information. Let me give it to you.
Moses,
Yeah.
I want to see if I can share the video so that
Yeah.
it doesn't come across as you have made up all of what you're saying. So let me try to get this back to screen. Gosh. Do you want to go ahead and be talking? I'll play the video. Go ahead. Let me unmute you. Go ahead, Dwana.
Thank you, my brother. Thank you so much. Many years ago, I worked at the Ministry of Information. It was the academic. He was then Arthur Dennis. He was then Assistant Minister for Public Works. For administration of the Ministry of Information. When he hired me at the Ministry of Information, and I served in many different capacities: group editor, special assistant to the minister, and all of that. But like you readily outlined the function of the Ministry of Information, and we also had a printing press, and then Lena and all of that, and the Department of the Culture and whatever. But right now, like who really look, it's sad to see how this is working.
So
like who really,
Dwana?
Yeah, I'll listen.
You guys can see the screen?
Yes, sir.
Y'all can see the screen with Ledger who?
Well, the ministry is there. We see come down.
Y'all can hear him?
Yeah.
All right.
Put it that way.
Okay. We can hear him.
We're struggling. I like to be clear. We're struggling, but we're not giving up hope. Once there is life, there is hope. So we're continuing to do the best we can under the circumstances to carry out our mandate.
Struggling?
We are.
What is that supposed to be?
It means that what we expect to have to be able to do that which is expected of us has not been forthcoming. Let me say this. I'm not trying to throw anybody under the bus, but I like to be frank too. Some of the criticisms that we get come from the fact that we just didn't have it to do what the public expects of us to do.
Why are you as bold as you are sometimes?
Because that's my nature. I like to be frank with people. I like to say the truth. I'm a journalist by profession, And I built my reputation over the years saying the truth to people. Regardless of the fact that I hold a political position now as the Minister of Information, I believe when you tell the truth to the public, it is easy for them to understand what you're saying and believe what you're saying, and at the same time reason with what you're saying, as opposed to trying to lie. Because when you lie and the people find out that you've lied, you even lose credibility, and then the disrespect and the disbelief creeps in. And at the end of the day, you can no longer be trusted. In the public space, trust is very important. The voice that speaks to the people must be a trusted voice, must be a credible voice. That is why I try to do the best I can under the circumstances.
I mean, trust me, I'm not supposed to ask you this question I'm about to ask you because I know you are a university lecturer of mass communication. You know, when they're talking about journalism in this country, nobody have to like it. But you mentioned legend who ran it. But how are you managing between public perception about who an information minister is supposed to be versus the professional legend who running as a journalist and a professional person who've got a lot of mentees, considering that job is a political position? I mean, I'm just thinking.
No, your question is very fair, and we grapple with that already. In fact, that's the challenge that I face. But the truth is, I think it's simple. Um, Truth telling is cardinal in the responsibilities that you've outlined, whether as the political person, as the Minister of Information, or the journalist as I am or as I was prior to taking on the political act. Truth telling is simple known to all of it. And that's why I try to do the best I can to say the truth to the public about what we're doing as a government. Because at the end of the day, the messenger is quite important in the conveyance of the message to the people.
Absolutely.
If that messenger appears to be shady and has and is untrustworthy, the message becomes buried, the message becomes blurred, and then it is even questioned by the public. That we don't, lose on both sides of the coin. It's a tricky one, but we're trying to do the best we can.
Yeah, gentlemen, I think he was clear about the budget and what have you, and also his current role from a journalist now to a political propagandist on behalf of the government. But well, Duana, go ahead. You were saying I just wanted to throw this out here so people would know that.
No, the situation with Ledger Hood is simple. I mean, and we all can see what's happening in He's really good buddy. He's really good buddy. Lin Eugene Nangwe is usurping his position as Minister of Information. It's just as plain and as simple as it is. And these are friends. These are guys that we knew back in the days. They always used to hang out together. But Ledger who running now is the one, because he's much closer to the president. He's the one that is usurping his position. Ledger who running is occupying. I mean, not Ledger who. Eugene Nangwe is occupying so many positions in the government. Today, he's minister. I call it commissioner for maritime. He served as minister of state. He served as minister of information. He goes to the president wherever the president goes and whatever it is. So Ledger who is left hanging, holding the bag. Unfortunately, it is what it is. There's just no way around it. And they forgot to know that MICAP has a pivotal role to play in the dissemination of the country. I mean, dissemination of information, of government policies. Like I said a few minutes ago, if you don't take care of little things, it's hard to accomplish the big ones. Okay.
Well, someone will argue and say that based on the proliferation of media institutions in the country, it compels the government to let go of information and revamp culture affairs and tourism, because that's one area we're lacking in Liberia, and we could be making millions because we have the territorial waters, we have the scenery and the scenic view, and some historical artifacts to share, places and so forth. but yet we have not put anything to tourism and hotel. You have LBS. LBS could do that work. What did both of you say?
If I'm just coming real quick before the editor, and that's nothing wrong with that. You can always revisit the act that established your ministry. You can always go over the act and see what you can do some adjustments. Ain't nothing wrong with that. But if you leave that act in place, it means that's a functionary of government. It requires government full support. If you want to revamp the whole thing, like you said, even in America, many news agencies now are kind of readjusting the way they're reaching out to the public. Many private organizations are readjusting because the social media platform now is dominant on the national scene and international scene. If that's what you want to do, that's fine. But you have to look at it and then readjust it. But you just can't leave it and let it just die like that. I mean, that's my problem.
And I agree with you, Donna, because if the ministry is the creation, then it has to function to its fullest capacity. It cannot be about whether you like somebody or you don't like somebody. It's like you're running a family. If you look at your budget, and like Donna said earlier, if your car payment is so high that you can't afford to buy food for the kids, then my man, it's better to trade that vehicle in and get something cheaper. Unless you do that, you have an obligation to maintain that vehicle, to make that car payment. And into this Liberia, the need for communication, for government program, the promotion of government programs and policies, especially for a government like George Weah. I mean, a government that's headed by George Weah. You have a president who doesn't speak to any issue. He needs a very forceful minister of information to tell his story, because the man lacks the ability to face the media. He has a press secretary who also lacks the ability to face the media. That's why legend who is needed to fill that void. And you need this man out. The ministry is literally dead. The New Liberian newspaper that's supposed to be telling the people what is happening at agriculture, at finance, at the various ministries, youth and sports. The New Liberian newspaper dead. The printing press, central, how do call it, Odwana? Printing press unit, something. They did a printing press that was set up by government for the printing of government programs, printing of the newspapers and other things. That facility is dead. Tourism, dead. What is happening? Like Dwana said, if you don't need it, revisit the act, revisit the policy that created this act, and get it out of the way. Unless you do that, it cannot be on a selective basis.
Because Moses, the reason I'm asking the question is when you look at some of the radio stations in the country, they're already pro-government. You have Freedom FM, from what I hear, it's owned by someone from, I believe, NSA, who is pro-government and who works for the government. So of course, that would be LBS, that should be for the Liberian people. Of course, I believe is pro-government. So a lot of pro-government things are happening here when it comes to media. You have single individuals on Facebook who are pro-government. What's this guy, Michael Gilman or something? The man, you got to keep your phone. Yeah.
Michael Gilman, yeah, for the CDC, yeah.
So,
yeah. Mm-hmm.
So there's a lot of mouthpieces out there for the government, which I believe they look around and say, oh, my man, your ledger who takes $17,000 for the year. I want just for him to put gas in your car and buy a scratch car. The other people didn't care. The deputy and they will find they will hustle their way. But the 17,000 now you promise my man Legend he can get it. So Legend said it is not too much now. Let me go to OKF and go and, 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 and bring it up. But the
You know,
truth here,
Volcano, let me
yeah,
just share this story. I do know before you come in. The operational budget for the Ministry of Information is less than my daughter, who is just a college student. The ministry operational budget is less than my daughter's annual income. Can you imagine that? Jonah, go ahead.
Don't do that. But I went at Mika. I went at the Ministry of Information when I was in Liberia. I went there. My man, when they say poll, that's not even the word. The ministry is dead. Because I have some of my former colleagues. I mean, why wouldn't I want? Because I was at the ministry, I was director at the ministry before I left. I was director of motion picture review division before I left. And then while I was there, I mean, there's no reason why I wouldn't stop by there to say hi to some of my former colleagues. So I was there. I went there, and then, but I thought when we were there, because when back in the days we were on Gertie Street, we were a little bit active, okay. But now it's like doesn't even exist. I didn't even know Ledger who were in the country because all I thought he traveled with the president. Not knowing he was in the country. Okay, I mean, but nobody was there.
the president took his deputy for technical services.
Yeah, that's my
The
brother, that's my
deputy,
friend. Yeah, and
you leave a minister behind, but you take a deputy.
he
So
was
that
here. The
means
guy, the deputy. I spoke to him, Shelton. I'm sorry. I spoke to him, and I was like, "Oh, how come the director didn't come, the minister didn't come, but you came?" But anyway, that's a topic for another day.
gentlemen, I think the problem here is that this government has missed its priorities. And Moses said it right when you look back on President Weah's inability to make his own case. But the other day he was sweating in Isaac Winger Church, and he was down there talking about. He said he put him more on Louis Brown, that Louis Brown made a mistake about when Louis Brown said the 3 Hebrew boys were in the lion den. So that one that he capitalized on, and Louis Brown just probably made a mistake not saying the fiery furnace, but by saying, "Oh, the man, and Joe, he like to capitalize on the very simplest things to make it seem as though he's up to the task." But they've missed a lot of great opportunities. And if you don't want the Ministry of Information, which I still think is viable, particularly for this government and for Liberia at this time, because without the Ministry of Information, who then put a check and balance on media practices in the country? That would be a whole nother thing that you have to contemplate, because then we already got chaos. Let me unmute you, Dwana, while I make a point. We already got chaos in other areas, and then if you start to have media chaos, you know what information does? It is the most powerful medium. It can make and it can break. It can build and it can destroy. That is why I think the ministry is still viable, because it has the ability to, authorize licenses here and there, and it show that media practices conform to what government's expectation is in terms of free speech and all of that, so that we don't have a duplication and reduplication of the same thing over and over, but have professional balance in media practices. So I think it is still important, from my perspective, that the ministry be given the support. But I would say shrink the size of the ministry so that it's manageable and is able to be supported. I don't know the current employee numbers of employee at the ministry, but you saw those people talking about how many ghost employees, the demonstrators the other day, the protesters, the employees who were demonstrating. You remember Moses? They were talking about all of the
Yes,
ghost,
I still remember. I
all the ghost
remember that.
employees,
Yes. Mhm.
and then the
Yeah.
people were making only $50 and $75 for
No,
a.
the average pay is $45.
I mean, I say around the thing all the 50 back. Hey man. So I'm just trying to say that when you have all these ghost salaries going into people's pockets, that's why people are making $50. So shrink the size of the ministry, make it much more proficient and professional. All these technical people creating more. Look at LBS. You create for rural broadcasting, you create for public affairs. When we started having director general deputy for public affairs, so how many public affairs you need? You got public affairs and Ministry of Information and get report. So why this? You say you were harmonizing, you were shrinking government, but unfortunately, we have made the government bigger than its own shoes. So that way we're having this crisis.
My dear brother, let put it to you, Mr. Editor, if I may, please. Let put it to you this way: the president has failed miserably to transition from his soccer career to that of politics and leadership. Volcano, you and I live here, and all our lives that we've been working. As you get another job, it is your responsibility to upgrade your skills to meet the minimum standard of that position you occupy. If you say you want to be president and you don't want to read or you don't want to communicate and you can't persuade, you can't motivate, you can't inspire, that's what you get. If you wake up and go to play soccer on a Monday morning, then all the functions of government, you leave it with your deputies, who we already know has their own lapses, then we have a problem.
Rana,
If
you
the
said
president,
something. You said something, and I read it. I read it. It just hit me just now. You can't persuade. You can't inspire. You know why Weah looks like he's inspiring? You know why he looks like he's up here? Because of the Zogos. It will never happen in our time. When even we were in grade school, needless to say, by the time we got to high school, that a president who is on our level, when we're looking for president to be above us, then you on our level or honor our level, then we're running the street to support you. That is
brother,
why Weah looks like he's relevant because of this current youthful population in Liberia. They don't know the front from the back. They cheer for everything. They run the streets for everything. They sing. They have too much time on their plates, and they don't even know what the future looks like now and tomorrow. That is why, and I thought that was a very important point, and I didn't want to stop you, but I had to because I wanted to make that point. It is this current youthful population that God Weah thinks he's relevant and he's a good president. That's the reason why. It
I'm
won't
gonna
happen
get to
in our time. Before
just 1 minute.
1990, it will never happen.
Let me just give you one scenario. I met this guy in the Lakpasi area when I was on my trip. I saw him with a CDC t-shirt. I said the seditian. And then he came on Sunday. This brother enthusiastically introduced himself to me as one of the bona fide members of the CDC group. So I asked him, I said, "Oh, where do you work?" Then he said he does not have a job, but Chimamolu assured him that if George Weah win re-election, he'll find a government job for him. So then I asked him for his age. I said, "How old are you?" He said he's 38. Then I said, "Do you have kids?" He said, "Yeah, he got two. The 7 years old and the 5 years old. His son is 7, his daughter is 5. So then I asked him, I said, "Which school do they go to?" He said, "Not in school yet because you cannot afford to send them to school." So then I told him, I said, 6 years from now, if you add 6 years to your current age, you'll be 44, 45 years old. You know what that means? He said, "What that means?" I said, "You face the probability of never earning a paycheck all your life. Because 5 years from there, you'll be 50. Then I said, "Your son is 7, he's not in school. 6 years from now, he'll be 13. He'll be a teenager. He most likely will not be to school. Your daughter will be 11, 6 years from now. Do you know what that means?" He said, "What does that mean?" I said, "It means your children will suffer more than you. Your children's life will be harder than yours." His whole continent on his face changed. Apparently, he does not have the ability to to how they call it, conceptualize that. He didn't know when I told him, say, look, you know that in 6 years, you're 38, you'll be 44, 45 years old. And then 5 years from there, you'll be 50. You most likely will never ever earn a paycheck. You know, the people don't see things from that. Those are the people that are running in the street to support your way. They're saying there's a Bukati, the jubilating.
And that's what I'm saying. That's this generation of youth making this guy feel relevant, making him think he has the crowd. Look at the other day when he went after the church service and went to his party headquarters. Go and say, listen, write me a letter of application, I will give you a job, and see what they will write to you. When they finish spelling application to you, I mean, we in serious problem. We in serious problem.
I mean, it's levels.
I was already on the college level when I was in 9th, 10th, 11th grade before the war. I was
It's
already on college level of today. People
man,
who doing bachelor's and graduating, I would have written the thesis for them in 9th and 10th grade. I'm being practically honest here tonight.
it's scary. And that's our labor force right there we have.
Yeah, you know what, Jermaine, what is happening? Our youthful population is being exploited. Those people that show up at the RIA to welcome Mr. Weir, if you watch the video, a significant portion of the individuals who show up to welcome Mr. Weir were all young people. What did they do? They threw out few cash to them. That's what they do. They use the people, they exploit them. Oh, you know, you provide transportation. Look, make sure everybody get $5. Now you tell me, you have a gentleman like the example that Mr. Duana just gave. 30-year-old man, I mean 38-year-old man, no job, and you give that man $5.
No, the man waiting for a mobile promise for the next
Yeah.
election. He said,
So
"We'll
you
get a
know,
job
you
when
give
Buhari
that man
wins again."
$5, it will mean a lot. And that's what they do. You take the people's money and use the people's money to exploit the people. All the t-shirts they printed, the beret, taxpayers' money. On it to what? Welcome Mr. Weir after gallivanting for 48 days abroad. You see that? That's how bad things are in the country. Let's see. When we look at this problem, we need to see for our people. You know, a good number of our people lack the ability to rationalize. You and I have the ability to do that because we don't need them. You don't need to go see mobile you for Canada. You don't need to go see anybody. Oh my man, you know, sit here. Let me find something. You say, oh my man, you're making the oh my man, I may sit down. They let you stay there for 2 hours. The man gets out of the office, he looks at you. He acts like he's so busy. Oh my man, you're getting me $2, let him pay away. They'll take the $2 because the man is poor. But you for Canada, you go to see Donna, he said, look, you're telling me I stop by. I'm going. You get in your vehicle, you drive off. I will drive off. Donna will drive off. We are friends. We don't have to call one another to say, oh my man, my gas is low. We can afford to. But into this Liberia, that is not a situation. Our sisters, that's what they do to them. You remember what Edwin Snow did to the young women? He asked them to strip. Asked one of the ladies, I will give you $1,000. exploited that young woman.
And quickly, just to remind people, it was at Patrick Honan's birthday party that
Yeah.
was held. It was a pool party at
Mhm.
Snow's residence in ELW at the time,
Yeah.
when he was living out there. And
He
today
asked the
they
woman
want
to
the,
go nude.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And the girl went nude, butt naked,
Yeah.
for a
For
thousand
$1,000.
dollars, paraded in front of
Yeah.
men.
The exploitation
And at the time, he was in the Senate. I mean, in the House.
in the house. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Can you imagine that happens in America? That representative resigning by the seconds, and that woman could press charges against him. You know. So
Of course.
I say
And
this to
and
mean,
and it's the same man that was what elected senators. You see how these people play our people? They treat them like objects. They treat them like objects.
but not the only indigenous looters doing it to them. And our
Joanna,
Dorothy is saying
what do you think?
she indigenous, she happy, she that day the indigenous got
Look,
power.
when,
But
when it come to when it come to the current regime supporters, I have categorized them into three groups. The ones that can conceptualize, like the young people back home and whatever it is, that's one group. Another group of people that are out here living in the Americas and this. Look, man, my youngest daughter is in college. Okay, she's doing fantastic. She's doing well. I'm happy. My oldest daughter graduated from college, so I'm good. I can take care of my family. But to see my nieces and nephews struggling, it's a heavy heart for me. And to see my fellow Liberians, you have another group of Liberians that live in America. The children go to good schools here, and everything they say is what's going on back home is okay. And that's why I don't have respect for like one of the guy you call that lives in Detroit. You don't want to call those kind of people name on this platform. I really don't. I look at him to be I call him pay agent all the time because we know these people benefit directly from the government. Yeah, to take care to pay their bills in America. I don't need that. I mean, hey, bro, I can do my cartoon and take care of me and my family. I'm good. Okay. But then you have another group of people that are benefiting directly from the government. You know, those people that work in the government, they all rip and rubbing like Eugene Nangbe. You see him, Eugene Nangbe, he shows up like they put the coat on him, they put the cloth around him, and sew the suit on him, tight suits and whatever it is. You see him taking pictures with soccer
Yeah.
player, whatever it is,
Yeah.
and he thinks that he celebrated too. But
Mhm.
we all know this, you know, but the group of Liberians that live here, can you just have pity on your nieces and nephews and your brothers and sisters and your fellow countrymen? Look at the way the people living. These people go back home all the time. And this Christmas time, many of them they take the pictures with their Christmas, with their children. They all look fantastic. But look at the people who got back home. Look at the man a friend of mine who can afford to send his kids to school and don't even know whether his children are going to graduate from high school. And these are the future leaders of our country. These are people that we're going to live with when we say, okay, we'll retire living in America, we want to move back home and settle. And just, we've done our work, we want to go rest. These are the people that we're going to be continuing with. The crime rate in the country is high, Volcano.
I know.
The crime rate, the prostitution rate is high. And it's not going to get worse.
It is. It is.
That's what makes me nervous. That's what makes me nervous. And these are our people. I mean, that's just what got me nervous. And that's why thank you guys for giving me the opportunity to just vent out my frustration. Maybe I might have a good night tonight. Sometimes when you have all these things in your head, but it's frustrating.
Then you're welcome, man. You're welcome, daughter.
So Moses, I guess we've reached the finish mark. It's about a minute to 9. We want to thank Dwana for coming up here tonight to share with us his own perspective of his visit to Liberia and what he shared here and coming later with the fact that I've been there and also what we see every day coming out of social media on the country. We all can safely say here that none of these things are made up. It is the fact, and people who, like you said, the three group of people you mentioned, the one who want to be so pro, let them go to Liberia and put a gold chain on and a gold Rolex and walk with a wallet halfway in the pocket and see by the time they get from Broad Street to the corner of Randall, if they will still have it. But it's the reality. And so we want to thank you, my brother, for showing up. This will not be your first time and your last time. We hope that, at some point you will come back again to join us. But it was great conversation. We have to wrap it up. We want to thank all of our viewership here tonight. I know Moses had a turbulent journey into the issues room tonight. He had to go by two gadgets, the cell phone and and the video. But after the show, he and I will try to troubleshoot what is happening on his end. But we'd like to thank you all for joining us. Florin Kinsley, thank you so much for joining us. Mapu Hall, Dorothy Desayu, it was good having you. We know you're a strong woman for the WIA government. Keep it up. Theo and Sampon Jr., we say welcome and thank you for joining us. I'm a Freeman, uh, Gregory Stam, our man, Gregory out there in New England, Flomo Livingstone, Bloja Kono, Kowu Gloria Voka Moba, thank you for joining us here. Queen Abby, Liberia, it was good having you. Thank you so much for being a part of the issues room tonight. And also Raymond Clark and everyone else out there who didn't chat in the chat room, but was viewing all of you. Sometimes people tell me, say, oh, I was in the background. Or I don't like to comment too much, but I was there. So we say, oh, our secret admirers, those who love us, who like us, who follow us. We say, happy New Year. We have one more broadcast for 2023, 2022 rather, before we enter 2023, and that will be on Friday. We haven't decided yet what will be discussed. Maybe we'll do a New Year show, coming into the New Year. We don't know, but we'll discuss what we'll be doing. But again, we say thank you, gentlemen, Moses and uh, Moba Dwana for tonight's show.
Thank you,
Thank
sir.
you.
Thank you, guys.
But just like Donna, before you leave, I just want to say thank you for coming. Okay.
Dwana is
Anyway, he
yeah,
has
yeah.
left, but let me say thank you so much to Mr. Dwana for accepting our invitation to come. Because Volcano, sometimes it's good for the people to hear from what we call the horse's mouth. You know, Dwana was. So,
Moses, you got a rapper. There's a call coming
yeah.
though.
Okay. And like
Yeah.
we always say, this is not about any of
Let
us,
me let
it's
me
about the
just let
good
me
of Liberia.
hold on.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Let me just see who's this here. Hello, hello. Okay. All right, Moses. I'll join you shortly.